The complex sentence. The complex sentence is another type of a sentence which is not simple. We have said that the compound sentence contains independent clauses joined together. The complex sentence is different. It contains one and only one independent clause with one or more dependent clauses. Here, one or more. Generally, a complex sentence contains a subordinating conjunction, or it contains a relative pronoun. So there are two types of complex sentences, those which contain subordinating conjunctions and those which contain relative pronouns. You see in the first table the list of subordinating conjunctions in English. Let's read them. Although, even though, if, when, unless, provided or provided that, whenever, even if, as long as, before, after, since, until, whenever, while, as, because, since, in order that, so that, now that, as if, and as though. They are grouped together here into categories because they express different meanings. For example, the first category expresses concession. It is the meaning of bet. In the second line, the subordinating conjunctions express condition. Then those which express time, others express reason or cause, and the last category express similarity in situation. This is a general classification according to their meanings. So the writer chooses the one which is appropriate for the meaning that he or she wants to express. The relative pronouns are who, whose, whom, which, and that. Let's take examples. Let's say something about the order of clauses. The subordinate clause can come after or before the main clause, and in both cases the sentence is a complex sentence and it is a correct sentence. There is a little change that we have to make when we change the position of the subordinate clause. When it comes after the main clause, there is no punctuation. But when it comes before the main clause, we need punctuation. Here we need a comma. The comma shows that the sentence has not ended yet and something is to follow. It is the main idea. The main idea is to follow. It is a rule then, when you put the subordinate clause first, you must use a comma inside the sentence, and you have here one sentence, which is a complex sentence. So you see the same thing in the following examples. I will be happy if I win the lottery. Main, then subordinate. Now if we reverse the order, if I win the lottery, the sentence is incomplete. It needs a completion, comma, I will be happy. The third example, Mary will get a degree after she finishes her studies. I can change the position of the subordinate clause. I put it first, but I should not forget to use a comma. After she finishes her studies, comma, Mary will get a degree, a complex sentence. Here you should be careful. What comes after the subordinate clause should be a clause, a whole clause, the subject and a predicate. If we don't have a clause, the sentence may be just a simple sentence. Look at the sentence in red. After lunch, I will visit my friend. This is a simple sentence, not a complex sentence. I can say, I will visit my friend after lunch. Now, after is not a subordinating conjunction here. It is a preposition. So some subordinating conjunctions sometimes function as subordinating conjunctions and sometimes function as prepositions. We should always look at the group of words which follows them. We take a fourth example. We cancelled our picnic because it rained. The first clause is the main clause. The second clause is subordinate clause. Now we try to reverse the order. Because it rained, we cancelled our picnic. Here we are obliged to use a comma. Now the word because is a subordinating conjunction. The phrase because of is not a subordinating conjunction. If we use it in a sentence, it is a simple sentence. For example, the second example in red, because of rain, we cancelled our picnic. This is a simple sentence. Here is another set of sentences where a subordinating conjunction is used. But these sentences are different from the previous ones. They contain the subordinating conjunction that or what. Let's read them. I told him that he was wrong. Now, it is impossible to change the position of the subordinate clause in this sentence because the subordinate clause itself functions as one of the principal elements of the sentence. Here, it is the direct object. I told him what? That he was wrong. Therefore, we can't change its position. In the following sentence, what you did is wrong. What you did acts as a subject whose verb is the verb is. So it can not appear in another position. That you are alive is a miracle. The same here. The clause functions as a subject. My dream is a linking verb and it is followed by a complement. What is my dream? It is that Algeria wins the World Cup. So this subordinate clause is always here. It cannot be shifted to another position. It functions as a subject complement. I can't believe what I heard about them. What I heard about them is a subordinate clause. It functions as a direct object. I can't believe what? What I heard about them. So in these clauses, subordinate clauses, which begin with that or what, we cannot change their position. Here the clause functions as a noun phrase. It replaces a noun phrase. So its place is fixed. Now we take the complex sentences which contain a relative pronoun. Ahmed is a student who you know. The relative pronoun replaces a student. So in order to avoid the repetition, we use the relative pronoun. The relative pronoun, by definition, replaces a noun phrase. Ahmed is a student who you know, or Ahmed is a student whom you know. Ahmed is a student that you know, or simply Ahmed is a student you know. Here we can delete the relative pronoun in this position when it replaces the object. Now, the car which you bought is lovely, which is used with things. The car that you bought is lovely, or the car you bought is lovely. So the relative pronoun, the function of the relative pronoun is to replace a noun phrase and avoid repetition. This kind of sentences is a complex sentence because it contains a main clause and a subordinate clause. Let's compare the ideas in compound and complex sentences. Generally, in a compound sentence, The ideas are equal in importance. For instance, in the sentence, "You must study or you will fail." Here, both clauses are independent and can stand by themselves. They don't need another group of words to complete their meaning. Therefore, coordination is used between them, the coordinating conjunction. By contrast, in the complex sentence, one clause, one idea is more important than the other. The idea which is important will appear in the main clause, and the other idea will appear in the subordinate clause. For example, unless you study, you will fail. So, you will fail is complete in its meaning. It can stand by itself. It doesn't need any group of words to complete its meaning. But the other clause, unless you study, is incomplete. It is subordinate. It is dependent. It is related to another group of words. It cannot stand by itself. Now, you will fail is more important than unless you study. This is the difference between compound and complex sentences. It is in the importance of the ideas. This is an exercise about complex sentences in which you will write. Firstly, write sentences, of course complex sentences, using the following subordinating conjunctions. Although, because, if, when, unless, since, until. Of course, you have to pay attention to since and until. They must be followed by a clause, not by a phrase. If they are followed by a phrase, the sentence will be simple. You should have two clauses in your sentence. When you finish writing these sentences, try to reverse the order of clauses. You put the subordinate clause after the main clause and check your punctuation. Think about whether you should use a comma or you shouldn't use it. The second part of the exercise, write sentences using relative pronouns: who, whom, that, and which.